Welcome to the first of your GCSE revision videos. I am going to speed through all of these subjects as quick as I can, just so that you've got some hook to get onto for your exams. The topics are basically the same for OCR and EdExcel, but when we get to some exam tips towards the end, I will separate the exam boards for the different styles of questions. Episode 1, this is about believing in God. So the first thing I want you to do is get a piece of paper and a pen. Pause, go now. Okay, welcome back. Now I want you to write down, firstly, do you believe in God? Yes, no, maybe, don't know. Okay, good. Now secondly, I want you to write down a reason why you believe what you believe. Why do you believe in God? Not believe in God, don't know. I will not accept don't care as an answer, because you have to care or you will not pass this exam. Force yourself to have an opinion. 3 words we have to define first. Theism. Theos is the Greek word that means God. So theism is basically Godism, is the belief that there is a God. Most religions are theistic religions, although theos refers to a specific kind of God, which you find in Islam and Christianity, which probably most of you are studying. Atheism is the opposite, in the same way that asymmetrical means not symmetrical. Atheism means not believing in God. This is a belief that there is no God, right? No Godism. That's what this means. Is theism is Godism, atheism is no Godism, right? The third is agnosticism, a Greek word which is gnosis, which is religious knowledge. So agnostic means you have no religious knowledge. It doesn't mean you don't care. It is not apathy. What it means is not knowing if there's a God. A denial of the idea that religious knowledge is possible. The first thing we're going to do is reasons to believe in God, and then I'll go through reasons not to believe in God. I am doing here like a term's worth of unit in 15 minutes or less. So I am going fast. You can pause, you can rewatch this and catch up. Firstly, reasons to believe in God. The first you need to know is the argument from religious experience. Very simply, some people say that they have experienced God. There are 3 kinds of experience that we could be talking about. A personal experience, like literally, I have a vision of God, or I hear the voice of God, or I have a dream about God, and God speaks to me, and I am then a Christian. I might have been a Christian before, and it's emphasised my faith. I may have been an atheist, and it's a conversion, or I may have been a different religion, and it's a conversion. These are all different possibilities. Look up some examples of religious experiences on the internet. Okay, the second type of religious experience is a group experience, something like the Toronto Blessing, where loads of people all experienced the same thing at the same time, and there was a wave of faith that took over people. Look up the Toronto Blessing, it is important and also interesting. The third kind of religious experience is realising the holy in the day-to-day. So looking at a sunrise or a sunset or a smile on a baby or the eyes of a donkey and realising that God is within those things, that can be a religious experience. The second reason one could believe in God is the argument from design. This is called the teleological argument. This argument from design, it could be, firstly, you have William Paley. Now, Paley said, if you're walking on the beach and you find a watch, right? You look at the watch, it all works, it all fits together in a certain way. It's pretty safe to say the watch has a designer. There's a watchmaker. Paley said, look at the world. It's awesome. Look at the human eye, the intricacies of it. It's really complex, a lot like the watch. The watch clearly has a designer. The world clearly has a designer. The designer of the world we call God. The second version of this argument is called the Goldilocks argument, where if the sun had been a degree hotter or colder, if the Big Bang had not happened at the exact magnitude and at the exact same temperature, like none of this would have come to be. And the Earth is the exact right distance from the sun and the exact right distance from the moon, that exactly the right conditions have been made, like with Goldilocks, right? The first porridge was too hot, the second was too cold, and the third was just right. And the argument goes that the Earth is so just right that it must be created for us. And that's an argument that the world was designed for humanity to live on, therefore God must exist. The third argument for the existence of God you need to know is the arguments from causality. Personally, my favourite. Nothing changes without being caused to change. If you think of, like, anything, a billiard ball moving across a table, it's only been put into motion by something else that was already in motion, right? Another billiard ball or the stick. If I pick up my book, it's because I have moved to do so, because my muscles have moved. Motion can only get put into motion by other things that are in motion, right? So if you look at what caused the things that are around us right now, we take that chain of cause and effect, right? You're watching a video right now because I've made a video, because I was a teacher, because I always wanted to be a teacher, because I was taught that that was a good thing, because my parents were brought up in a certain kind of way, because their parents were brought up in a certain kind of way. Back, Big Bang. If you follow that chain of cause and effect from anything, from a leaf blowing across the lawn, all the way back, you'll always reach the beginning, right? But the Big Bang doesn't have enough, because the Big Bang is the beginning of time. So to ask what came before it doesn't count as a real question. What that means is that the Big Bang is unique in its eventness, because it doesn't have a beginning. So either we can go back and back forever. That's called the infinite regress, because regress is go back, infinite forever. So we can keep going back and back forever and never reach a beginning. But if there was never a beginning, there was never a first event, there could never have been a second event. So it doesn't work logically to go back forever. If this was A-level, I'd go into more depth on that. For GCSE, that will do. So the infinite regress doesn't seem logically possible. If there's a beginning, the beginning is God. So there must be a God, because we have to have a causal explanation. We have to have a causal explanation for the beginning of the universe. Right, reasons not to believe in God. The first is science is one reason that people give. So we have the notion of the Big Bang, and to say that the Big Bang doesn't require an explanation because the Big Bang just happened. And that science will eventually find out if there was a reason for it happening, if there was anything before the Big Bang. Science will find those answers eventually. That's kind of a faith position in science, but it's a non-religious position. That's one. Evolution. Lots of Christians will claim that evolution is not true, that it didn't happen. Now, one reason to not believe in God is to see evolution as bound up with the idea of faith, and to then reject both wholesale, because evolution clearly did happen according to the scientific explanations that we have. So if you're going to reject creationism, you also have to reject religion. I don't agree with that at all, but that's one argument. I think actually that's a very weak argument. I would advise against using that in an exam situation, because you don't have to have creationism to be a Christian, and also creationism is pretty compatible with science, but I'm going to do that in a later episode. Unanswered prayers. So think of all like the poor newborn babies who die. Think of like people who pray for things which are really worthwhile and fine and won't cause any harm to have. This isn't me praying for a new bike. This is me praying for my children to do well at school, and then they don't. And my prayers aren't answered. Now that's a fairly good reason not to believe in God. Like, God has no reason to deny me these things, and yet if I pray for them, they do not come. Now a Christian would say, if God doesn't grant you these things, you don't know why, but they are not the best things for you, because God wants their best for you. And God is the best judge of what's the best for you, and not you. But certainly some atheists would say, if God doesn't answer prayers, if you can't pray for stuff and have a God that helps you in a tangible way, there's no God. I don't want to believe in that kind of God. The third is the problem of evil. This is the biggie. When I was doing my A-level philosophy, my teacher told me that the problem of evil destroys every argument for the existence of God. Look at the argument from causality. If you're looking at the causes of the universe, that's fine. What causes cancer? What causes wasps? What causes evil? Evil and suffering. Even the fact that we are capable of suffering, that people are capable of evil. Not just who made Hitler, but who even made the possibility of Hitler? Who made this possibility of killing and murder and rape and mugging and torture and death? That's no God that I want to worship. Now, the problem of evil is a big one for religion. Clearly, Christianity and Islam have their answers to the problem of evil, and they are definitely worth looking up. If we don't have evil and suffering, we don't have compassion, we don't have charity, we don't have kindness. These things are all reactionary. We need evil to have those things. One is that, like darkness and light, we need evil to recognise good. If everything was good all of the time, we wouldn't even know. So we have to have some evil so that by comparison we can understand it. If we didn't have evil, we wouldn't be able to understand goodness. Maybe that's true. So the question is the amount of evil in the world proportionate to the amount of good that we get in return? There is this idea called the aesthetic principle, that the universe looked at as a whole. If you look at some photos from the Hubble telescope, go look them up. The whole universe is so beautiful that examples of evil on Earth really pale in significance, really don't seem that big a deal. So perhaps it's our obsession with focusing on the microcosm of life on Earth that makes us think that evil matters when actually it doesn't. So I want you to look back to the beginning. You wrote down whether or not you believed in God and a reason why. Now look at, does your reason why fit into one of those things that I've talked about? Now if it does, I want you to highlight that thing, and I want you to go and write as much as you can explaining it. Think about how someone who disagrees with you would respond to you, and then respond to them.